Painting with Menoth John is presented in Super Legitivision. Super Legitivision, the future of podcasting. It's .com.
Hello, I'm
Menoth John.
and I'd like to welcome you. First of all, let me take just a moment to thank you for allowing me back into your homes. If this is your first time with us, let me extend a personal invitation for you to drag out your
miniatures
and paint along with us each week. Let's go over to the canvas here and let's get started. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. Let's build a happy little cloud. Let's build some happy little trees. There are no limits here. Start out by believing here. You can almost paint with anything. All you have to do is practice.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can paint with just about anything, but there are certain parts of your anatomy that you should not be painting with unless it's a very special painting. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crude and Rude episode of Painting with Menoth John. It won't be that crude or rude. It will be your Sunday night extravaganza. It will be the start of your week that you need in order to launch into your tomorrow in a way that is unlike any other way that you could. There. I am Menoth John. I am the president for life of War Machine and Hordes, and I am here to entertain you. Are you not amused? And of course, well, it's early. And of course, up in the power box up here, we have the mighty right hand of the podcast, the wind beneath my wings, the co-host with the host, Mr. John Spencer.
Hi-oh!
Oh, that's awesome. That is great. I wasn't expecting a repeat of last week, but we got a repeat of last week. It's becoming a shtick, and so I will have to be ready for it next time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Sunday night, and you could be doing a lot of things, but you have chosen to be with us. And if you're not with us live, you're with us in spirit, and you'll watch us later, because a lot of people watch us later, and there's nothing wrong with that. We appreciate each and every one of you. This is the Painting with Menoth John show, a 90-minute excursion into rum or other alcohol drinking and how it relates to fine art, or at least what it is that we do. I am, of course, for those of you who have maybe this is your first time watching, I am Menoth John. I am an old guy from Wisconsin who paints miniatures reasonably okay. I'm not a great painter. I do okay. I put some paint on it, I make a mess till I like it. And I've been doing this stuff for years, and that fly from the pre-ramble just landed on my screen, and I'm going to kill it. Got it. Oh, it flew away. Jesus. Anyway.
Your nemesis.
I hate this fly. Anyway, so it's 90 minutes of fun and frivolity. We take the first little bit, we do some business and clear up some stuff, and then tonight we're going to be having a great big show full of stuff about color schemes and picking out, how do you pick a color scheme and why do you pick out a color scheme and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll do some demonstration of painting a model, and so that you can get an idea of what we're kind of talking about here. And in the meantime, we answered a lot of questions. And, John, I think we got quite a few questions this time, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We have what I would call a metric butt ton.
All right, well, we are in metric butt ton mode then tonight. You know what else kind of mode we're in, John?
Oh, what kind of mode are we in, John?
We are in a mode to talk about the poll of the show. We're not going to forget about it this time, folks. We didn't put it down even on the actual agenda. Actually, probably the best way to actually talk about it is to not put it on the agenda, because then we'll probably pay attention to it. So we asked the folks that follow at Menoth John. Now, folks, there are almost 3 million followers of real Donald Trump. And I think that more people should be listening to us than that jackass. And, here, this funny story. He tweeted, I follow him, by the way, because I have to. And the reason I have to is because some great comedy comes out of that Twitter. Let me tell you what. And he was bragging about how he had gotten 400,000 more people. Memo to the Don. Okay? Memo. You to me, baby. The reason they're subscribing to you is because they can't wait to see what kind of stupid is going to fall out of your pie hole next. It's just like that. They're not following you because they think you're awesome. Just letting you know. Anyway, back to the poll of the show. Back to the poll of the show. We asked whose washes are best, and my favorite answer was Malcolm Reynolds. And I told the guy, I said, but they only are good for washing leaves on the wind.
So the problem is that he's not the best anymore because he is past tense.
Oh, he was.
Oh, the love for wash.
A little love for wash. Hey, Ron.
Right.
By the way, that could also be our beverage update. What did you have to drink there, buddy?
Well, that was some Captain Morgan's Cannon Blast.
Nice. I've had some Kraken. I'm still, it's a sipping rum. If you're into drinking, like, broken glass and shit.
Yeah.
It's got
I do have some Kraken in my force hammer.
I'm going to tell you what, John. Oh, you got a force hammer, too. I'm just going to stay with the Kraken tonight. I had to break open a new bottle of the Kraken. Tonight's Kraken brought to you by Ryan, our minister of great times, when last time he stopped down here at Casa John. So I'm drinking that.
I'll have to break open a new one next week if I have Kraken. I just finished the last one, which is why I think my force hammer might get me a little extra hammered.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, Love Disney 1996V. Oh, yeah, rum chata. It's frickin' legit.
The Rumi loves rum chata.
Oh,
especially in hot chocolate.
Anyway, so
that'll be winter. That'll be winter.
Yeah, exactly. So
I hear it's coming.
Oh, winter is coming. Yes, as a matter of fact, and thankfully Game of Thrones isn't still on because we'd be pushing back to that later time slot, which I prefer our current time slot, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And so there we go. So here we go. The poll of the show: whose washes are best? It was neck and neck, John. This was a tight one. This one, Citadel wins in a landslide, and Kevin Bryant, friend of the show, love that guy. He is. He goes. He mentioned that it's. Or no, excuse me. Dave Monroe mentioned it's the only two things he buys from Citadel: Agrax Earthshade and the Sepia.
Oh, shit. The Sepia is good on so many. On my Mercenaries, even put it on the green.
Oh, Sepia is a wonderful wash, and actually, we're going to talk about using Sepia from Citadel. It's called Seraphim Sepia, I believe is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And we're going to talk about it in relation to how I kind of antique my armor a little bit. So when I start with the silver, then I'll antique it down with the Sepia. It looks beautiful. And then next came Army Painter, and there was quite a lively discussion on the Twitters, John, about Army Painter. There's two different Army Painters that a lot of people think of. There is the Quick Shade, which is the $30 can of spar varnish, and then there is the dropper bottles that I'm a personal fan of. I've not used the Quick Shade. I know that Norbert has used the Quick Shade to great result on many of his circle models, and it looks his stuff looks absolutely gorgeous. So basically, you base paint your model, you dip it, you shake it off, and then it's done. And it works out beautifully for him. I've not tried it. The other one that came in then next is the P3. So if you're interested, by the way, in more of that commentary about the Army Painter, I suggest you get over to the Twitter. Follow me at MenothJohn. Also check out D6 Craig Gallant's Twitter. He and I were going back and forth on this one, and we talked about the dark tone and the strong tone, which are two of the dropper bottle ones that are excellent. And then P3, and I agree with this, John. I'm not sure where you stand with the P3 washes and stuff like that, but I think that they are more ink-like than they are necessarily washes.
I've never used them, but from what I've seen, they look a little more like classic GW inks and very, maybe not quite as harsh as the old GW inks, but very, very ink-like.
Yeah, for me, and a friend of the show, Tim Simpson, he commented that he really likes the P3 Armor Wash, which is a black wash that competes against the dark tone from Army Painter and the Newlin from Newlin Oil from Citadel. And I guess the thing that I like of that range, the dark tone is my favorite of those three, because I think that it not only gives you that blackness, but it also, when you put it on a silver surface, it almost automatically creates the highlight that you want for a silver maybe plate armor or something like that. So just something to think about and something to keep in the back of your mind when you're thinking about doing washes. These are all excellent.
Yeah, and you got to try them all, especially if you're like painting something specific. Something might be better for chainmail, and some might actually be better for plate armor.
Absolutely.
You got to try it out, though.
Absolutely, and that's why you see some of these really world-class class painters. They have many different kinds of paint, and because they know that each of those different kinds of paint is a different tool in their toolbox. So he also mentioned one that I had not heard of that is intriguing to me, and that is from Vallejo. It's called Oiled Earth, and I would imagine that to be more of like a Delvin Mud type of a, maybe that Agrax Earthshade style one.
Yeah, that strong tone sort of dealio from the brown, basically.
So yeah, so there you go. Those were the majority of the kind of the others that came out as a part of this, but there you go. Oh, there were a couple votes for Secret Weapons line.
I've heard good things about
washes.
Secret Weapons line, but no one carries them, so...
Okay. Love Disney's asking a really basic question, and that's great. What is a wash? Now, we talked about inks and washes, John, and my perception of it, and give me your thoughts on it as well, is that the wash is a more dilute type of a color. It's very thin, and there you go. Big Weasel's putting it right out there. It flows over the model so that it provides a automatic shading to it.
GW calls them shades. Games Workshop calls them shades in their line. While an ink actually stains it, so it actually leaves more on the paint to begin with.
Right.
So you get more of a stain with the ink rather than an actual wash where it just goes into recesses. Though honestly, you can do some tricks with washes and like dish detergent and stuff to make it flow differently.
Yep. So there you go. And I think Love Disney, if you're a newer painter, the first thing that I would do is I would experiment with this Citadel Seraphim Sepia and the Agrax Earthshade, and you will be amazed at how it will bring detail and highlight to your model. It's a transformative product. They used to call Delvin Mud, which was what they called it before it was Agrax Earthshade. They used to call it talent in a bottle, and it truly is talent in a bottle. It's an amazing product. So
I might take some pictures when I get my Kayazi to the point where they're all base coated. Good close-up pictures of them before and after washes put on the website, because that is the biggest difference. It goes from it's okay to okay, wow, that I can put that metal on the table. I'm happy.
Absolutely. So a couple of we've talked about a few things here. I do want to talk. I mentioned to the guy that's running this Patreon. This is for Hidden Forest Gaming. They have a product. They have a 2D terrain, and I'm not getting sponsorship or anything like this from this, guys. When I'm showing off stuff on the show, it's because I want you guys to see a good product and something that I personally believe in. And I'm going to put up here on the painting cam real quick. This is 2D terrain from these guys, and it is a wonderful product. It's very affordable. For right now, they're putting out a set of 2D terrain. This is their old Kickstarter. But you can see they have trenches and stuff like that. $35, John. And they have some of the new Mark III style terrains in there. The acid baths, the burning earth, the rubble, and stuff like that. So it's really exciting stuff. It's active on Kickstarter right now. Get on over there. Look for Hidden Forest Gaming. And I was very impressed with the job that they did as far as fulfilling on their last Kickstarter. Everything arrived on time. I got everything that I had asked for, and I'm very impressed. Now, John, we were talking a little bit in the pre-ramble about our thoughts on 2D versus 3D terrain, and I think I'm just going to say, if you want to listen to the pre-ramble, become a patron of the show. We talk about some interesting stuff there. We get a little controversial sometimes a little less controversial, but we're gonna mix it up, and we have some strong thoughts on 2D terrain, 3D terrain, and where it's applicable. Get on over there, support at the $1 level, and that's going to get you access to that fantastic stuff. If you support at the $2 level, you're going to get access to
the Co-Host Corner.
Co-Host Corner. And John, you were talking up all about the Idrians this week, were you not?
Yep, did a whole big thing on the Idrians. I had some other quick thoughts in there too, and then reviewed a movie called The War of the Arrows, a Korean movie. It's a good time. I'm still feeling out the total format, but it's a good time.
You're doing a fine job with it, John. Don't sell yourself short. You're doing a fine job with the co-host corner. It sounds good. Your audio's excellent, and it's a good time. So that's at the $2 level. $5 gets you an extra hangout per month and a bottle opener that is super sweet and totally legit. It says you're a part of the Crony Inner Circle. It's got our logo on it, so people can know that you watch this show. And it's there's a special handshake that goes along with that, and that is you put the 3 down because we're a Mark III podcast. Mark III, you throw that up, boom, they know you're a brushhead, and that might be worth extra privileges, and or it might not. You never know. And so there you go. That's the Patreon.com. Also, at the $10 level, you enter some rarefied air. Now remember, folks, we're only ever going to charge you for 4 shows per month. 4 shows only. We're not going to gouge you. We're not here to take your money. We want to provide content to you, and we want to provide you some good stuff for your value for your money. At the $10 level, though, super secret stuff starts happening, and you get to start picking who the spokesmodel is going to be to do our bits for our sponsors. And, of course, we have one of them so far, and you get to write what our spokesmodel is also going to say. So on behalf of our $10 oh, hey, there you go. Love Disney is the guy from let's see, get it right here, John. Hidden Forest Gaming. So he's super sweet and totally legit. So here for all of our sponsors is a very special person from the Forest of Ios. We have with us God, what the hell is it? A Mage Hunter Infiltrator. Here you go, folks, for all of our sponsors. Hello, I am a very, very dangerous elf. I have a brother. He is very famous now over at the beer machine. His name is the Foxy Brown. But it is not unusual that I am sounding like the way that I am because, he and I, we are the brother. Huh. Anyway, so just to let you know that everyone should be going over, and this is from our patron. I am not responsible for what you are about to hear, but you should be going over to the forums for the privateer press. They make the game, and saying that the Circle Ouroboros is underpowered and needs more help next year. Maybe to give them that shifting stone advantage again, double teleport. Because they have no creativity. They need the dirty tricks, not like us from the Ios. We are very, very straightforward, very honest people here living in the woods, as one with nature, if you might say. But did you know, John, that do you know what is in woods?
What's in woods?
Leaves are in woods. Green leaf terrain is the best place to get a fantastic 3D modeled the terrain that is very important for the war machine and hordes. Even more so for the Infinity. He would make things for Infinity. And that is made by a company that is from Spain, which is remarkably close to France, which is remarkably close to Ios, as you can tell by my outrageous accent. Anyway, I tell you that the Adam at greenleafterrain.com is the best place to send an email. He will make a special piece of terrain for you and send it to you. He will send it to you in America. He will send it to you in Mexico. He will send it to you in anywhere that you go. Ha! Yeah, Greenleaf Terrain. It's outrageous. Anyway, also, someone you should be aware of is the Flight Medic Painting. Now, Flight Medic Painting is from the Michigan, which is near Canada, which sounds like France, which is very near Ios, I understand. And he is the master of the greens and the reds, and he will paint the model for you. But don't ask him to paint anything anytime soon, because he is all booked up. But he is super legit, and you should check him out on the internets. Now, John, did you know what feels best against my backside?
I'm gonna guess the Butterfoam.
Ah, the butter foam. Oh, I can feel it up against my cloak, and it is, it is like an experience unlike anything. I talk to you backwards now because that is how important KR multicase is. I turn around, I turn back, I turn around. I am an infiltrator. You did not even see that because I am the stealth. Aha, I'm like the knight. Anyway, haha. You know what else is like the knight? KR multicase. I don't know why, but it is. And if you put me in there or if you put other models in there, I can promise you that they will appreciate you and they will fight harder for you on the battle. Oh, it is beyond your imagination how good the KR multicase is. And as we said in the preamble, we have confirmation that they do understand they are sponsoring this show. So that is excellent. We had it, they were confused by the question, but they understood why eventually. Also, did you know, John, there's a very famous series of books called the Harry Potter?
I've heard of them.
They have sold 1 or 2 copies. I hear it will be big someday. Anyway, so the Harry Potter, there is a phoenix in that story. It is owned by a very old, very wise wizard. But do you know, it was not a clockwork phoenix, John. It was not.
It was not.
Oh, if only it had been a clockwork phoenix, then the Dumbledore, he would not be dead. But Clockwork Phoenix, it is not dead. It is a company that is run by our good friend DC. That's David Carl for all of you who are not familiar with all of the DC. And he has several games underneath the development. He is working on the Dark Souls. He's working on the card game for the Guild Ball universe. All of these things are fantastic, and we will be bringing the David Carl back on the show someday soon to help break out all of this stuff. And maybe he will get us a test copy of the card game, and we can talk about it on the show. I can show off cards. I will ask him for these things. Anyway, that's all that we have for today. I am Foxy Brown's brother, Les Foxy Brown, and my mom was hard to me. Anyway, I have a soul and I know how to use it. Anyway, I am going to catch you next time here on the Painting with Menoth John show. Hasta la vista. There you go. So there you go. That was our word from our sponsor. We are running long, John.
A little bit.
So yeah, and then we just confused Love Disney.
It's okay. Just go with it.
Just go with it.
It's a long story.
Anyway, so I'm going to switch cameras here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to start painting stuff up. And we're going to talk a little bit about color schemes here real quick. This is the meat and potatoes part of the show. This is not the gristle. But let's get over here. So let's talk a little bit about the model I'm going to paint tonight, and that is Elara. And I'm going to put up the painting cam here literally any second. There we go. All right, so here's Elara. And she's pretty. Whoops. Didn't start on that side. All right, so there we go. So here she is. And this is the Kickstarter model that came out with the War Machine Tactics. And this is a really beautiful model. I'm pretty sure Doug Hamilton did this model. The model that is Elara2 and this one are so reminiscent of each other. I have to assume that he was involved in this. She was a beautiful model with the worst rules in literally history.
Oh, I disagree, but okay.
Well, of the juniors, she was, I think, not... Well, you tell me, John. I'm not going to run her underneath the bus.
I'll be honest. Having countercharge in a Banshee is horseshit.
All right, well, that's
great.
fair. That's fair. And you'll remember that we painted her with a tactical combat thong. And there it is. There you go. Tactical combat thong, the TCT. And so there you go. So let's talk a little bit about the color scheme here while we've got her on here. So my retribution, and this is something to kind of think about. You know, when you're thinking about a color scheme, sometimes it's not only color, but it's also how fast do you want to paint them. And my retribution has always been ones that I want to look good, but also want to get done with. And that means that, so what I did with this one is I went with a very simple color scheme. I'm going to keep this in frame here, I swear to God. So here we have this color scheme is basically all cold steel on here, and then what I do is I take that cold steel and I wash it with Seraphim Sepia. And let me get that bottle so y'all can see what that stuff looks like. That's Newland oil. Here we go, Seraphim Sepia. So here it is, and this is a light tan wash. It is not as dark as Agrex Earthshade, and it's a wonderful product, really really good. And you'll also notice a couple other things about it. Her power nodes, I'm using it's a combination of yellow ink and it's like a green. It's a very yellow green. So there's a little bit of yellow and I don't know, something else in there. God, what makes green? Yellow and blue?
Yes.
There you go.
Blue.
I was having a stroke over here. So yellow and blue, just a tiny little bit of blue in there, and it makes a nice green. And we put that in there, and that's all there is to it. Before I do all the power nodes and stuff, though, what I do is I will dry brush it back up with Quicksilver, and that's how you get this effect that I have. Now, the back of this, her cloak and stuff, is Iosian green, and then I work it up with worm green, and then finally some highlights with some very like necrotite and stuff like that. And the beautiful thing about using necrotite is that it's a very transparent color, so it makes it very easy to do highlighting with. And that's how that is my color scheme for Retribution. But the other thing that I do with my color scheme is different types of models have different color schemes, so that you can kind of tell what they are from the kind of armor that they're wearing. Now, Elara, I imagine her to be, she's an assassin kind of a person, but she's got wearing armor that is more similar to like my Dawn Guards and my House Guards. It's very much like my House Guards, which are it's a very thin kind of armor, and it's using this metallic theme. My Mage Hunters tend to have these very dark green. This is Gnarl's green that is the base color for this one. And so all of my Mage Hunters tend to wear cloaks and stuff that are of this color. And then my Battle Mage type models, and this is Helena, this is the newest Battle Box caster, they get this dark redstone kind of a color to it, and then highlighted back up with some tans and things like that. So, and that's carried through with all of my different models. Now, folks, this is an important thing to think about when you're starting your army, is that, and I didn't do this very well, John, to be very honest with you. When I was starting off with my Protectorate, they're frickin' all over the damn map. And what about you? Have you had much success with color schemes? You start out with GW stuff.
Yeah, GW stuff sort of cut my teeth on that, but I could share my early models. Well, I can't, but I could have, and you would chuckle. They were not consistent. Actually, I feel like this is a good time to throw a couple questions out there that they have.
Yeah, let's do that.
Alex Newman says, I find my color schemes evolve over time. How strict do you stay with determined color schemes, or how much wiggle room do you give yourself to deviate?
Well, I think these models kind of speak to this a little bit. Is that doing an entire army that looks all the same can be a little monotonous. But what I do is I do give myself wiggle room by class of model. This is more common these days. A couple things you do want to be cognizant of that I think really helps tie a model to an army together is bases. And I've been a little less. My Retribution, I made a big mistake on my bases. My second units of things have an entirely different base color, and there are better ways to make that happen.
Yes.
You could easily go with a different color line for the arc markers, or you could do something, but keeping all the bases the same tends to give you a more consistent, cohesive army look to it. And I regret that about these guys. But
yeah, I was going to mention that the Elara's base being different is actually what stands out the most on the model when you put them next to the other two models.
Yeah, and there's not that many of this color base, it wouldn't be that hard to go back and just do a mass repainting of the bases. The unfortunate part is, this is Iosian green. No, this is, well, what the heck is it? Maybe it is Iosian green. No, it's Ortic olive. It's Ortic olive. Ortic olive doesn't cover worth a crap. And as a result, it would be, I wonder where my Ortic olive is. Oh, there it is. It's this color. And it's relatively transparent. So it'd be a little bit of work, but it's probably worth it to go back and repaint all my stuff to have consistent bases. So
it would definitely help. And the lines too, because you can see the lines on the first two are in white, and then she's got brown, and it's a little.
Yep.
It stands out a little bit.
Yep. So we don't care about that, and we're going to that's something. Don't make that is a very easy mistake to make. Don't make that mistake. Think about that kind of stuff. And one thing I do though is that some have snow on them. Some of them just have leaf litter. But what ties them together is the fall colors. And the reason I did that is because the Iosians are a dying race, and so they're in the fall of their existence. So that's why I went with that kind of a multicolored leaf litter kind of a thing. So, but that's kind of what we're talking about now. Let's talk about the models that we're going to start painting tonight, and talk about where they fit into this color scheme. So let's start off with Elara2. And folks, this is a gorgeous model, and we're going to tilt the camera down here a little bit better. There we go, not too much. All right. This is a gorgeous model. This is the new model that just came out at Gen Con that Rich Brotman from the Beer Machine podcast. And folks, if you're not listening to Beer Machine, you're doing it wrong. Get on over there, listen to them. They're on the Muse Network, but listen to them. And this is the new model from Doug Hamilton. So what we want to do with this, as we're talking about different color schemes, is, and I'm going to get these other two models out of the way, is we want this model to look like she's just all grown up. So what we want to do is we're going to take the same armor pattern that we've used on this model, and we're going to translate it onto here, but she's got more going on. She's got this back cloak that has become very common in a lot of the newer models. So we're going to have to come up with something that uses this as a pattern, but then will expand out to perhaps echo some of the cloak patterning that I do on this model. So, and I remember how to do this, so it should be too bad. This is just, these are some of the darker greens, the Iosian green highlighting up towards, not quite all the way up to the necrotite. And then there's the golds that I do using Rulic gold and the flesh shade, the Reikland flesh shade, which by the way is another wash that I'm going to recommend to newer painters out there that you get a bottle of it. Reikland flesh shade does beautiful. If you start with one of these copper golds that Privateer has, this is the Rulic gold. Love this paint. Love it.
Legit.
Yep, love this paint. It's a beautiful brass copper, and then you wash it with the Reikland flesh shade, and then you can very easily do a two-stage highlight using I come back after it's washed, I come back with a little bit of the Rulic gold, but then I'll come back with something like this, like a polished gold from Vallejo or a solid gold from Privateer, and just to catch that little bit of highlight, and it really makes a big difference. And if you really are going crazy, go nuts, you can even highlight with a very small amount of like a Quicksilver at the very, very zenith of it, and that will make your model pop. So, go ahead, John.
No, I was gonna mention the silver thing at the end.
Yep. And so that's where we're going with her. Now, this other one, this is a Liss Healer. Okay, so Liss Healers, as you can see, they're using a lot more of an armor that is more reminiscent of these guys. Okay, it's not the full Battle Mage armor that we see. It's almost like a combination of these two models, where we have a lot of the strap armor on the front, but then we transition into almost Battle Mage accoutrement in the back. So what I'm planning on doing with this is, and this will tie some of these different models together, is I'm going to, my first step when I do get to do this one, is I am going to airbrush her all the way to this. and so that it gets all the different nooks and crannies down in beneath here. And then I'm going to work it out, and eventually the cloaking is going to be reminiscent of this, with a lot of greens and lighter greens and things like that, which will make her stand. It'll look integrated into the army, but it'll stand out as its own thing, because these list healers are something we haven't seen before. This is the list now, and we don't know anything about the list yet, but we're going to learn about them, I'm sure, over time. And so that's why we want to make sure that we're establishing a new trend here, so we have to give it some thought. We have to be cognizant of how this is going to fit into the overall look of the Army. So I did, Brush Tour, I did see that John stopped in. Give him my love. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to acknowledge him, but Brush Tour's mate, the John, is Guru, and he is a fantastic PG from Scotland, and people who go to his events should donate towards the enormous amount of 2D terrain that he purchased out of his own pocket, and so people should donate and be nice to him. But there you go. So that's, folks, the first thing we're going to talk about a little bit here, guys, is getting another shot of Kraken, and then we're going to get busy on Elara2, and then we're going to take a bunch of questions. But I also want to refer the Brushheads back to an earlier episode of Painting with Menoth John, where we talk about color theory. And, there is some color theory that goes into this color scheme that we have here. And that is something that Chris Suri, who is an amazing painter, who is always winning awards, and he did an entire show and presentation for us. The audio is kind of hot garbage. It's a little hard to listen to. It's a little poppy, and it cuts out a little bit sometimes. But, guys, the information in episode 54 of Painting with Menoth John, go over there to youtube.com/MenothJohn and look it up. Episode 54. It is worth it. It is great information. Someday, John, I think we probably ought to try and get Chris one more time on. Probably vet it out a little bit better, where we do some testing on the audio ahead of time. And maybe we can get something super legit and totally sweet.
Yeah, it's worth taking a look at for the future.
Yep. All right, so we're going to turn the rest of this show into question and answer time, and I'm going to start painting on this gal.
All right. Stephen Reynolds had one that we've sort of covered, but I want to go over a little more, just to fully answer his question. He says, when painting a potentially disjointed army, seeing different sub-themes in War Machine Works, or different Tartans and Hordes Trollbloods, to be specific, do you prefer to do a single overriding theme or make the army more ragtag in appearance?
I think that I think it depends on the army that you're painting, because you mentioned two that I would paint very differently. Mercs, I think, is perfectly fine to be ragtag. It's a faction that's intended to be a little ragtag. So doing more different things there, I think, is probably okay. I think with Trollbloods, doing different Tartans is a great way to show that maybe different units came from different creels. But I think that's something that I would want to have more unification in it, just because it seems like to me that there should be a higher level of integration on that one. John, what are your thoughts on that?
I actually feel like it doesn't matter which way you do it, but in either case, I would make sure there's at least a couple unifying things. Maybe one color that goes through all of them, or similar colors that go through all of them. And then just make sure when you're painting equipment, the same equipment gets the same color paint on all of them. Because throughout an army, even from different places, they do tend to have similar equipment. So if you're painting a gun on all the models, paint them all similar, almost identical. That way they all look like, they have the same armament. So it definitely brings the army together. Like all the pouches being, leather brown would be a good way to keep them all together too. Just little touches like that bring an army together. You don't want to get too crazy, because then it just looks like a real hodgepodge. And I think at that point it kind of detracts from the army.
So, folks, you're going to see me doing some really weird crap when I'm painting this. And this is because this is the technique that I developed for painting this particular army. This is a lot of just going nuts, putting silver on it. And about the only thing that's going to not get silver on it, and I keep the paints really wet, and I use a really large brush. About the only thing I'm not going to put silver on is her face, and I'm going to try and keep off her hands a little bit, and the cloaks. as much as I can. But even if I get a little bit on the cloaks, it's not the end of the world. But for the
You can always fix it later.
Yep, and but as far as anything that is armorish, I'm going to come back and I am going to things that are more leathery are going to get changed. They're going to get their base color added to them later. But for now, I want to get just all kinds of silver all over this model. And what I want it to do, and this technique that I'm using, which is almost like a wash with paint, is it provides it a really even coating, and it doesn't end up being super gloppy. You just keep on moving it around until it's an even coat all over the place. And I'm sure that good super legit painters don't necessarily paint this way, but this was something that I did for my Ret that really worked out for me. And because it's a metallic like this, I think it works out pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's actually a good base coat technique if you're going to have a model that's a very unified color. GW players learn that a lot on Space Marines and such, where they just go to town with the color, because you can always go back over for the little bits when you painting their gear and their chest eagle and such.
Yep, there you go.
All right, what's the next question? I'm gonna keep them painting oriented for a bit, then we'll go into the other crazy ones.
Oh yeah, we like the crazy ones too.
Sean Colburn wants to know what's the best ways to stay motivated to paint.
I would recommend painting with Menoth John. Seen here on Twitter, on twitch.tv/MenothJohn every Sunday night at 7 p.m. But the other way to do it is I think one of the ways, John, that I do it is I will make a list for some event maybe that I want to go to, or something that I want to play, and I will grab those models, and those will be the ones that I prioritize on my painting table. And because I want to play with them, because it's a list that I like or something like that, I will find the motivation to get them done. The other thing that I would recommend is to intersperse your, and we've talked about this a lot on the show, is to intersperse your units with maybe a solo and a warcaster or a jack or something that changes it up. Because doing 10 or 15 or 20 or however many you've got of whatever game you're playing, that gets hard over time. So those are the big key things for me. Have a reason that you're painting the model that you're painting, and then get it done that way. What do you think, John?
I totally agree. Make it a goal was going to be my number one answer, because make it a goal is how you get stuff done. You're like, I got to get X painted in order to get to X tournament because it requires painting. Has always been a great motivator. Or even the Muso Minis a couple years ago did the play it painted, and that motivated a lot of people. Like, I'm not going to play with it unless it's painted, and that's a little extreme, but if it gets you motivated, it's all good, Just whatever motivation you're interested in. The interspersing the characters or jacks with your units is a great idea. I feel like that'll go away a little bit because the new formula for Army seems to be less units, which is good from a painting standpoint.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right. Hey, Rhyme, welcome. I'm super glad you're here. Glad that you heard about us on the D6 Generation podcast. We are Painting with Menoth, John. We are happy that you're here. So, boom, just like that, I've got pretty much 75% of my model base coated. Now,
yep.
I'm going to be coming back now and spending a hell of a lot of time cleaning things up. But then, once again, we're going to be working from the inside out. Now, I'm going to put this one down because this technique demands that you allow that thing to dry down a little bit in between steps. And I'm going to be picking up the Liss Healer. And that technique that I just demonstrated ain't going to work on her.
No.
And I'm concerned that I should even bother with painting her until I get her airbrushed. So we're not going to. We're going to put her down, and we're going to let her dry while you ask questions.
All right, more questions. Trollton Heston wants to know, do you find yourself consistently drawn towards the same colors and developing color schemes?
Yes, unfortunately. I do tend to, although you wouldn't think so, would you, John? With all my pinks and purples and whatnot, my trolls and stuff like that, I am very drawn to greens and the colors, what do they call it, the sanguines, and blues, because they highlight and they shade so nicely. And at the end of the day, I'm looking for good-looking stuff, and because I'm good at painting those colors, I tend to head towards them.
Mhm.
But I need to stretch myself. I need to get better at oranges and reds and yellows and things like that. I need to stretch myself, and I probably don't do enough of that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I go towards blues and greens a lot. I don't use a lot of the other colors. And you should try to, honestly. You should try and mix up your painting scheme. Though sometimes it just doesn't fit, you know? I'm painting a bunch of stuff, and the only orange I got is the pumpkins on the bases of my Malifaux dudes.
Yeah.
You know, it's not much space for it elsewhere. It doesn't really fit with a desert-themed army so much. It's kind of weird. But, yeah, I keep going back to the same colors. Because, again, you also want to see your stuff look good. And if you get good at painting a color, you keep using it because you're like, hey, I can do this well. So I know the model's going to turn out good.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. And so she's drying off pretty nicely here. Going to take a little bit of a brush here and just dry brush her a little bit. Because, it's one of those things where this technique, giving it a little bit of dry brush can be helpful at some points too. Just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. And I see I missed a mold line terrible on the top of this
John,
thing.
can you check to see if we went down? Because I think we might have gone offline.
It still says that I'm broadcasting. Are you seeing anything?
Negative. Looks like it went offline. It says live, but it's got the picture of the Menoth Jack.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let me restart the podcast.
My other services that.
Okay, let's try that. Is it back up?
It'll take a second.
Yep.
Let's
Let's
see.
see
Weird because it says live, but then it just has the Jack.
I have seen serious issues with Twitch lately.
Huh.
Is it coming back up?
Let's see. Yep, back up.
Okay, guys, I don't know what happened there. To be honest, there have been some really unusual things that have been going on with Twitch, and so welcome to the second half of the Painting with Menoth John show. I'm pretty sure I don't have the intestinal fortitude to stitch this thing back together, except in audio format. So what I will do is I will release this as 2 YouTubes. But remember, patrons, we're only going to charge you for 1.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll just be watched in 2 parts. And so we're continuing we'll figure this thing out. So I hopefully won't have to.
Again.
It did it again?
Yeah, it says offline.
It's literally nothing that we're doing.
Nuclear war.
Okay, try that. Okay, we should be back now, folks. Folks, we have we're switching back over to going via the Twitch for Painting with Menoth John rather than the Moose Machine, and we'll see if this is any better. John, are we back?
Checking now. So far, no. But I mean, it says we're live, but haven't, but not seeing anything. Let me just refresh it again one more time here.
Yep, try and refresh it. I'm going to try and refresh it over on my other computer over here too.
Let us see. Ordered Moose Machines being a pain. Wow, that's really strange that it's doing the same thing. I think Twitch just took a shit.
Well, that blows.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Because according to this, we're streaming quite well, thank you very much. Hang on.
Interesting.
Yeah, according to this, it's live. It's live, and there's just nothing there.
Yeah, Twitch is just taking a shit then.
Yeah, this is all on Twitch. Well, crap. Can you let them know in the chat room that it's Twitch's fault, not ours? We've literally not done anything, and we were working fine just a second ago. My internet is up. I mean, we're talking on Skype, so obviously my
Yeah.
internet's up. Well, that's freaking disappointing.
You want to finish this as an audio and then just release that?
We can. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, if it pops, we can try and stream it. Also, I mean, is it recorded on your computer?
it should be. Yeah, I mean, it records it's on my computer at the same time. And I guess what I'll do is I will continue to paint, and it's just not going to be a live stream. It'll just be a painting with Menoth John. It's going to be kind of a shit show to put together for YouTube, though, to be honest.
Yeah.
Although YouTube will stitch things together. So we'll try it. Whatever.
We'll give it a shot. So I'm saying we're going to continue on and continue. It might just be audio and the YouTube later. YouTube later. All right.
Yeah.
For sure, that's cool. All right.
Yep. Just tell everybody that we'll release this on YouTube and on the audio only stream.
Yep. So back to it.
Okay, back to it. So
All right.
I'm think I'm done dry brushing her, so I'm gonna start getting some color on. I'm gonna start on her face and then start working my way towards the inside. So let's go ahead and keep on going on. Let's get them flippity bloops going.
Okay. Dark Angle 32 wants to know what are your thoughts on the Badger paint and more so the Ghost tint?
So I use the Badger paints for my airbrush paints exclusively. I like them pretty darn well. Now the Ghost tints, I've never been able to quite figure out how to use them properly. They are a very high gloss, almost candy-like kind of tint, and I'm not a fan of it for that reason. I think it's very difficult to get them to do what I want them to do. What I would like them to do is to be able to use them as a shade, a colored shade, and that's just not what I seem to get from them. They tend to be much more of a like a high gloss color, and I just haven't had much luck with them. But I do love their regular paints, very much so.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things of Badger. Eventually, I will get an airbrush, but not for a while yet.
No, I understand. You got to pick and choose your battles. I just picked up. There was a sale online. I forget where I saw it, but they had a Badger. What the heck is it? It's a Badger Patriot 105 Extreme. It was like $85. And so I picked that up. What's so
Charlton
funny?
hasn't asked me to. Can you transcribe everything into the chat for me?
No. That's
Oh,
very
I cannot.
funny.
I'm sorry.
That is not
All right.
gonna happen.
So the other one you're really interested in, this is kind of far from painting, was Declan Lowry asked, "What new game systems are you tempted to try out?"
So there's I had a demo of a game from Gale Force 9 that was at our local game store called Tanks. And Gale Force 9, and I didn't realize this, John, has recently purchased Battlefront, who are the makers of the Flames of War series.
Indeed.
And Tanks is a beer and pretzels answer to Flames of War. And for like $25, you get 3 tanks. 2 of them are like German, or no, 2 of them are American, like Sherman tanks, and 1 of them is German, a Tiger tank. And you have a very X-Wing style beer and pretzels wargaming experience, and I really enjoyed it.
That's
so
good.
I had gotten a demo, really enjoyed it. So look for it, Tanks by Gale Force 9. What about you, John?
I'm gonna try out, I think, the Marvel superhero game. I've got the Guardians of the Galaxy for it, plus Nova. I can pick up Groot when I get a chance to, and kind of looking forward to play that. I've heard good things. Formerly PG Hendy Badger, who used to be a big deal, posting a lot of good stuff about War Machine. Now plays a lot of various games, and still upkeeps his blog. And I've seen a lot of cool stuff on there. A lot of reviews that say it's a lot like an actual how a superhero miniatures game should be, throwing cars and stuff around and cool stuff like that. So I'm very interested in giving that a shot.
That does sound really cool. That sounds really good. So there you go. Next one.
And related to that is Kev Bryant. What's the last model you saw, can be any system, that you just wanted just to paint?
Oh, I've lusted at tags from Infinity for a long time. I think that They are so cool. The tags for Infinity are great, and there's 0% chance I'm going to be playing Infinity anytime soon. Nobody plays it here in Wisconsin, and so, but boy, it would be so good to get one or two of those tags, and have at it. What about you?
Well, actually, mine are related. Almost every Marvel superheroes model that comes out, I'm like, I'd like to paint that. But recently, it's been the Hulkbuster armor just came out, and I saw that yesterday, and I'm like, I really want to get that and just put some paint on that thing. It is cool.
Yeah, that looks really fun. That looks really good. I have not. I know what Hulkbuster armor is, so I mean, it's obviously that it'd be super fun to paint that.
Yeah, it was super cool. But most of their models, like between that and their Batman line, there's a lot of models. I'm just like, that'd be cool just to paint.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds great.
All right, let's hit next. Let's see here. Back up to the top. Paulo Miguel Oy wants to know, what chair do you use, and how do you avoid strain injuries like neck pain and back pain from looking down all the time?
So I actually have the chair you see behind me is an IKEA chair. It is just their IKEA high-backed office-style chair, and the reason I have it is because it gives me adjustability as far as height is concerned, and I think that's kind of important. How do I get rid of neck pain and shoulder pain? I'll be very honest with you. I struggle with it. The best thing I can suggest that you do is that you take a break and move around a little bit every now and again, and rotate your neck, and rotate your shoulders, and those kinds of things. It's really the best advice I can give you. John, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
I've just got a standard office chair. Actually, downstairs right now, my current painting system, I've just got a folding chair because that's what I've got. Yeah, taking a break is the best thing to avoid the strain. I had my what do you call him? My partner, when I had my gaming store, would sit there and paint for hours and hours. He's like, my hand hurts, but I keep going anyways. And that's not the way to do it. He ended up giving himself carpal tunnel from painting too much.
Yeah, I mean, you
start feeling... Yeah, go ahead.
Your body gives you signals. Listen to them.
Yeah, and I get a lot of days where I get a little twinges in the back, and I can't paint for too long. Whereas I lose feeling in a couple fingers. That's my thing, to go stop, walk around for a bit, come back a little later, If you got to take smaller chunks of painting, you do it. You just do what you can. Exactly.
So, I mean, maybe paint for 15, 20 minutes. And then take a second, 30 seconds, and just and move yourself, get some motion going, and that's a big deal. You don't want to hurt yourself. This is a hobby. This is not something that you want to hurt yourself over. So take that time and do it right for your body. You only get one of them.
Yeah, don't hesitate to try other chairs. I mean, it's hard to just try a chair because it's the long haul that the chair is good for or bad for, not the short haul. And you can't just sit in a chair at a store for like an hour painting models to see if it works for you or not, which is unfortunate, but it's back to life.
Yep. I mean, this is a fine chair. It does okay. It's about $160 chair. I had been looking at some really god-awful expensive ones, and I'm glad I didn't buy them, because I'm not sure that this is $900 less good than an Aeron chair, but this is plenty good for me. I like it. Boom.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Michael Stubbs, you mentioned earlier, who are your favorite fantasy artists, and are there any famous fantasy sci-fi paintings that you consider iconic?
Gosh, I'm not a big fantasy art kind of guy. I like Florian Stitz's stuff, to be honest, and that's that's why I commissioned him to do stuff for me. But I think that there are some. I guess I don't really even know who to recommend at this point, John.
I would say Larry Elmore, because he sort of drew pictures from my childhood, and I go for any of his the 3 covers from the original 3 Dragonlance novels are all, in my opinion, pretty iconic. But most of those TSR books from back in the day all have just amazing artwork on the covers. They just found the best artists and let them just go crazy with great stuff.
Cool. Boom.
And then, let's was it Zomworth Duddingham says, whatever happened to Ron Spencer? Do you know who Ron Spencer is?
No idea.
He was actually an artist for D&D, for Wizards of the Coast, basically, for D&D and Magic the Gathering back towards the beginning. Best I can tell, he hasn't done anything in a good 6 years or so. So unfortunately, I don't know what happened to him, but I did enjoy his art. It was very different style. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, he was self-taught.
Huh.
He took some classes, but he really evolved his style by himself, and he had some interesting stuff.
No idea who that guy was. Sorry.
You're not a Magic guy, so it's understandable.
Nope.
So Josh Pines, Pines, P-I-N-E-S,
Sure.
Pines,
Sure.
says, what is your recommendation for base room colors and arc mark colors? He says he has black and white or burgundy cream. What colors look good and what colors distract too much from the rest of the model?
I do an awful lot of black with white markers, but I show lack of imagination when it comes to basing. But I think that, I think that it's something that just, we talked about it earlier, make sure that you stay consistent. That's probably more important than actually what your base coloration, your base marker coloration is. You don't want it to be to detract from your model. Don't make it the focal point. It should be something that ties your army together, but it shouldn't be the focal point of everything that you're doing. So that'd be my advice.
I agree. I would stick away from the bright greens and yellows, anything just too flashy. Cream is actually a great color for it, just because I actually even use 2 colors of green, but nothing too bright. Do the sides for the front of the arc and one color, and then the front and a slightly different color, so you can more easily tell. Because sometimes my heiress moves up, and I'm like, she's painted in the old whites, and I'm like, she's facing this way. I'm like, oh crap, no, she's facing this way, because I'm looking at the side, not the front.
Yep. There you go.
All right, John Evans Anderson says, what are the hosts playing these days, and what casters are you enjoying and playing the most?
So this week, right now I'm playing a lot of Protectorate, and I've been playing a lot of, I've been playing Durant 2 recently a lot, and I have been enjoying the living daylights out of that. I've been playing Sevi 2 quite a lot, because I think Sevi 2 is just fantastic right now. They are going to rebalance that guy, so I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts. The ability to cast Ashes to Ashes 3 up to 4 times a turn, pretty solid. And so he's really fun. I'm anxious to play Malachus, and I haven't played Malachus because I haven't gotten him painted yet, and I'm waiting to paint him for our Journeyman League. So I don't know, John, is there even a painting thing associated with Journeyman Leagues anymore?
Honestly, I never look at the Journeyman League actual rules, because I always took them and said, that's fine, but someone's going to break that shit. Let me get something else out here.
Okay. So, yeah, I haven't paid much attention to it either, obviously.
Yeah, and like I said, I've said this in the past podcast, having a more fluid and versatile rules will keep the newcomer, the older players interested as well as the newcomers.
Yep. There you go. So, I mean, that's what I'm playing, and I am enjoying the living daylights out of Protectorate right now. But, that being said, I have yet to play once with my Helena model, and she's been painted for weeks. And I have, this gal is going to be 2/3 painted by the end of the show, and so I need to get her to the table pretty soon too, because they're great casters. These new battle box casters and these new generation of the journeymans are amazing. Durant is terrific. So I mean, that's what I'm going to be playing. And if I was going to be playing some trolls, I would have to be looking at Ragnar, because I haven't had a chance to play him. I know that Jay Larson has been playing a lot with him and has experienced some great success with him. So I'm sure he's probably pretty good.
Well, I've been obviously playing Ashland since it's my Ashland Challenge. I'm 7-0 by the barest of margins.
Nice.
Hoping to get the next games in soon, and I've been enjoying it. A little down in Mercs right now, just because everyone gets lots of new toys, and I haven't gotten the same new toys, and I have nothing to look forward to November. But I'm pushing through it. Okay, just play a little bit of something else, keep myself up. But Ashland's been cool. I mean, they took abilities away, but she's still really good. And the only other cast I've played in Mark III has been Magnus 2, and he's pretty much considered one of our top-notch casters.
So, that actually brings up a good point. And I believe there's a question about the differences between the command books and the theme books and things like that.
Yeah. He's like, Jason Belsha asked, what are your thoughts on the theme books and command books, and that PP is going the route of basically codices like Games Workshop rather than anthologies?
I'm a little sad about it, to be honest, but I understand why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we kind of figured that this was going to happen someday. The day was going to come that the game was going to be bigger than they could literally do all things for all people all the time. And it was probably an unrealistic expectation that they were going to be able to. So, I think it's a sad day, but it is a day nonetheless, and we'll get through it. We'll survive. John?
I actually don't feel like it's a sad day, just because with War Room being such a thing,
Yeah.
and the fact that you get the rules when you buy the model, it's not a big deal that they're not doing the big army books and compilations like they used to, and having the command books, because I feel like you can do smaller stories and maybe have more interesting overall effects. You can get to really, with the fluff. I mean, fluff isn't necessarily a big part, but it's still a good part of the whole thing. You can get a more intimate look at, a small skirmish and the people involved in it, rather than, oh, look, I saw, Resnick and Harkovich for one story, and then never again.
Well, and let's be very honest. With PP's model schedule release, nobody was getting new toys all the time anyway.
No.
That was not happening.
That's fair. It's just hard. They need to work better on balancing that. The Crix players, and I hate to really say that they had good points, but they hadn't gotten a real release in a long time until some of this stuff just came out.
Yeah, that's true.
And as much as you're like, oh, you got everything you need, that's not the point. Having new stuff, variety is the spice of life, and those guys were willing to try new stuff if it came out.
Yep.
And they need to do a better job of keeping it a more consistent release schedule, so it's not like I haven't gotten a new model since, let's say, Linus and Lucy in, what was that, March?
Yeah.
February?
Yep.
And I won't get anything till November, so it's 8 or 9 months between releases for my faction. And that's no bueno.
No, it really isn't. So here's the crazy part of this frickin' color scheme of mine, John.
Mm-hmm.
This is base coated. This is done.
It goes quick when you use a single unifying color over most of the model. It can go quick. There's something to be said for that.
And well, to be honest, I guess I'm not entirely true, because I need to come back and do the metals on the bottom of the skirts, and I need to figure out what I'm going to do. Some kind of a leathery thing on this, a dark leather, and that's it. And then she's done. But the rest of it is detail work and washes, and I mean, guys, we're talking less than 45 minutes. We're talking 35 to 39 minutes, and I have base coated a Warcaster. And Warcasters are probably some of the models that you're going to want to spend more and more time on than some other ones. And so it's picking a good brush, it's using a wet palette, and it's picking a color scheme that it makes sense to do that with. Now, I'm not going to go any further with that particular model, because I want everything to kind of heal up and dry and let it cure a little bit before I go to the next steps. But here's another thing to do, folks, is when you're doing the color schemes, keep the bottles of paint out that you are using on that model, and maybe take a picture of it, or with the model in front, so that you know what colors are on that model, and that will help you to know what color schemes you actually have.
Or use a notepad.
Yeah, that too. Notepads.
I actually have little color blotches on a couple of my notepads, where I'm like, I mixed this color. Let me slap that on there so I get an idea of what I'm looking at, so I can try and mix it again.
Yep, exactly. And when I was looking at this hair here, all I did to do the hair on her was I used my zenithal shading technique for the priming. I just washed it with some Darishi purple. That's another one of those Citadel washes. It's a shade, a Citadel shade, and I just shaded it on there, and it does a really nice job. So,
You really can't go wrong if you go and pick up all of the Citadel shades, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
You may not need all of them right away. You can probably skip the orange and maybe the yellow, but the rest of them you will probably use.
I have Agerman Blue. I've got Darishi Violet. I've got Gilliman Blue. I've got Drakenhof Nightshade. I have Reichland Flesh Shade, Agrex Earth Shade, and Newland Oil. So that's most of them that are not those warmer colors that you mentioned.
Absolutely, and honestly, I find the warmer colors less need the wash and more need the highlight, but that's my experience.
Yep, but it's fun to experiment with them. And oh, by the way, to those people who are asking about Badger airbrush colors, well, there you go. I have the entire line because you get them at ridiculously low prices at places like Adepticon. So, well, you got some more questions? We got 3 more minutes before the media section, John.
I got a couple that I want to get in here. Tracy Carter asks, how many colors are too many for a color scheme?
You know, I think that depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a Harlequin type of a color scheme, you can get away with quite a few colors. But I think that on most normal color schemes, within a specific model, you want to have maybe 3 or 4 different colors, and then you want to you'll highlight out of those colors to other colors. But really, 3, maybe 4, but 3 is a good number to start with, and then work up from there.
And those are major colors, not like minor things like, straps and guns and stuff. Like they're colors you're going to use consistently throughout models. Same boot color. I do the same boot color on all my models just to keep it consistent, and straps and stuff like that. You don't count those. It's the major colors we're talking about here. You definitely want to go more than 3 or 4 because then it gets a little too busy. Though sometimes good painters can make that a great effect. You just want to, when you're starting out, just feel it out with 2 or 3 colors.
Yep, exactly. As I look at Twitch now, it's not even online. It just says offline. So
yeah, it's offline now, yeah.
Hopefully we can do some testing during the week and just double check to make sure that Twitch actually is working again someday. Because I literally didn't touch anything.
Yeah, I hope it's just a Twitch thing that was real quick.
Hopefully it's not XSplit, but anyway, no worries.
All right, let's get Zosha Simpson. She sent us a couple, but I'll answer one here. What faction did you switch to because your faction is crap, and how long till you buy Ret?
Well, first off, she's assuming that I think the trolls are crap, and I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think there's a lot of love in the trolls. I just haven't been playing them. So which ones did I switch? What did I switch to though? I switched to. I'm going to put up the face cam here rather than the painting cam. I've been playing a lot of Protectorate. Protectorate's super fun right now. There's a lot of really great stuff in Protectorate. But it's not because trolls are crap. I mean, I could play Calandra all afternoon and just be happy as a clam. I could play a lot of things in trolls all afternoon. I think that at least I need to figure out some different angles to take trolls, because once I found that champion warders package, the rest of the lists become kind of monotonous. And because that package is so strong that I want to put it in a lot of things, but I need to, for instance, I saw a list that Brushheads sent me in trolls that had Gunbjorn and all the guns. That would be a fun list to play.
Absolutely.
So that's something to think about. Anyway, so there you go. What else does Zosha have for us?
I would answer that I actually switched to Mercs, but that's my main army, so it's not really switching because I don't feel like any of my factions are crap. Oh, and by the way, we both already own Ret.
Yes. I might actually have the entire faction and then some.
I just don't have a heavy rifle team, I believe, and the list healer because she's brand new. I think I have everything else.
And I did find... vamp for a second. I'm going to get something to show on screen. Vamp for a second.
Okay, no worries. I have a question just for me from Declan Lowry. He wants to know, for the co-host with the most, what films are you most looking forward to coming out? At Rogue One, God Lord, if it came out tomorrow, I would take the day off to work and go see it, because hells yeah. The Magnificent Seven, I'm looking forward to. That looks like it's going to be a good time. To a lesser extent, Doctor Strange. But honestly, I look forward to every Marvel movie pretty well. I haven't seen a lot of other previews that have been truly interesting, so it looks like it's going to be maybe a slow end of the year movie-wise, because besides Magnificent Seven and Doctor Strange, I didn't really see anything else I'm interested in. I'm kind of optimistic for Justice League and Wonder Woman. I feel like they're trying really hard, and I'll at least support them if they're trying. And let's be honest, they can't make anything worse than Batman or Superman, or if they do, they deserve to be shot.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Oh, and have I told you that Charlton Heston's going to bring over a bottle of some good liquor, and he's going to purchase a copy of the Ultimate Edition of Batman vs Superman, and we are going to watch it and get drunk.
Really?
So I'm not sure when this is going to happen, but he's certain it's going to happen. Since it's just time on my hands, I'm willing to do that for a brushhead like that.
So I'm showing off on the screen, John, because I don't think you can see this because Twitch is locked up. In the battle box for Retribution, there comes a Chimera, a Griffin, a Manticore, and Helena. And I have no interest in having a third Chimera. I have 2. That's enough. But what I do need is 2 Gorgons. And what I have up here on the screen is I have a standard metal Gorgon, and then I have my new converted Gorgon that I'm very proud of, and I will take pictures of this. But I basically turned a Chimera into a Gorgon, and the biggest difference is that you don't put the arc nodes on its shoulders, and the head is all wrong. But what I did is I sculpted a new head, and I am very pleased with how it turned out. And we are going to feature how I did this on a future episode of Painting with Ben Auth John, because I think that there's a lot of people that have interest in doing conversions, and it can be a little scary. But we'll talk about this, and I think it turned out really, really good. I sculpted a new head, and as I look at it, I think I nailed the shape pretty good. So we'll put them on there.
Yeah, if you want to be cheap, or not cheap, if you want to be lazy, you can always just order another head for a Chimera from Predator Press. They still have the old metal parts. Still work perfectly good.
Well, and you might actually get one from them if you do that. I've heard they've been really slow on parts orders.
No, my parts order, I had a correction put in right around Gen Con, which is not the time to put in orders. Let's be honest. They've got Gen Con to worry about. I wasn't upset at all. It showed up this week, so wasn't too upset. I got the shoulders and head for my Mangler, so I can finish that. Oh, you can see a little bit of that if you look at the Painting with Mount John website. I've got my converted Renegade all done, and my converted Mangler partially done. With the the Renegade has Mangler legs, and the Mangler has Nomad legs, and it makes a difference. And when I get them at a good point, I'll put comparison pictures between them and the original, so you guys can all see.
Cool. All right, let's get over to the media section, because we need to do that so that we can end the show here relatively on time, whatever this show is going to be.
Yeah.
I'll piece it together in post-production. I've got a daunting task ahead of me tomorrow for sure.
But we care about you guys enough to make sure that happens.
Oh, it will happen for sure. Some version of this show will come out. Okay, what do you got for us, John? Very quick. Oh, before you launch into yours, I watched Deadpool again. Still as good. Still awesome. So there you go.
I did Friday night see most of the Italian Job in the background. That may be the second best heist movie ever.
Ocean's 11 the best?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there you go.
It did super fun, good characters. Seth Green needs to be in more movies. Good Lord, guys, what are you doing wrong?
I know, right? He's amazing.
He's funny. He's a good. It's good.
He's in the Italian Job?
Yeah.
I've not seen the Italian Job. I apologize. I will make it. I'll put it high on the list.
It is on Netflix, I believe.
Sweet. I will definitely watch that.
It's definitely for free between Netflix and Amazon Prime, and I think you got them both. So
sweet.
Go to it.
Awesome. Boom. But you have another movie.
Yeah, speaking of free, I noticed that Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, a movie that I really wanted to see, but I missed in theaters when it came out, just due to being busy, was on Amazon Prime for free. So I'm like, I got to watch that, and today was that day.
Nice. And?
It was good. It's got some flaws, but nothing that you really need to worry about. The basic flaws are the fact that, hey, look, the IMF has been disbanded or, underground or whatever, like they've been doing, in 3 of the 5 movies they have. It's an age-old trope that they keep using, and I'd like them not use that again, but, they're still enjoyable.
Yep.
Tom Cruise is as good as ever as Ethan Hunt. I mean, as crazy as this guy may be in real life, he is a hell of a movie star.
He ain't too damn bad at acting, and I hate the fact that he's as good at his acting thing as he is.
I don't, because at least I get to enjoy the movies.
Yeah. Yep.
Simon Pegg has a good role in this too, and I love Simon Pegg. He's
so good.
He also needs to be in more movies.
Yep.
He's doing a good job.
Super talented.
He's been in 3 in a row now. He's good. They brought Ving Rhames back part-time. I don't want to say full-time because he and Jeremy Renner, unfortunately, don't have as much screen time as I feel they maybe should.
Wow,
This
is a hell of a cast you're describing here.
Oh, I know, yeah. And then Alec Baldwin as the head of the CIA. He does a good job.
All right, I'm in.
It's a good movie. Like, honestly, Mission Impossible is one of those movies where the first 2 were completely different, and the third one was different than those, but I feel like from the third on, they have a very similar feel, because it's all been Bad Robot and, God, what's his name who just directed Star Wars? And my brain stopped.
Oh, God. Now I'm having a moment also. Yeah, that guy.
That director.
Yeah, that guy.
With the lens flares.
Uh-huh. That's all right. He's good at them.
He does a good job with it. They had Christopher McQuarrie, who's a really good writer. He wrote the first Jack Reacher screenplay and also did The Usual Suspects. He is a great script writer. It's fun. It's got a ton of humor. It's got some good seriousness. The female lead in this is good. I also love that they have that thing where there's obviously some chemistry between Tom Cruise and the female lead, but it doesn't go anywhere.
Interesting.
It's not like,
I like that.
Oh, we're instantly in love. No.
I like that.
It builds. You're like, hey, yeah, there's some chemistry. They could have something eventually. But it never gets there.
I like that.
Because there's not enough time.
Yep, there you go.
I will call it the Pacific Rim effect, where Pacific Rim is the movie where you totally thought they were going to do that, and then they're like, nope, we're not doing that. We're doing it the right way.
Awesome.
So I give that maybe 1 shot of Kraken. It feels like it's a 3-hour movie, but not like in the bad way.
Sure.
You're like, man, they just doing so much with this, but it's only about 2.5 maybe.
Okay.
They do so much with their time. They're very, very good. I mean, it's just a great movie, honestly, overall. Like, they've really turned this into a good franchise, and even though Tom Cruise is getting fucking old, I look forward to them doing another one.
So, it's PG-13, I imagine?
I believe it is. It's not too bad. I don't think there's anything that your kids doesn't have a problem with. I mean, there's some people being killed, but nothing bloody or disgusting or anything like that. It's all standard action.
Cool. Well, I've got both boys with me this week, so that might be something we turn on in the evening time, whether it's a Belinda evening or not. Belinda likes the action movies too, but maybe not as much as the boys and I do. But so there you go.
And they have a couple great scenes where normally the action hero gets, oh, he almost drowned and now he's back up. And no, he looks like he's been through hell.
Well, good.
He's not reacting normally, and then a lot of good little touches like that help. That's a movie that I'm looking forward to. I forgot to mention for who is it that mentioned that? Good Lord, my brain. Apparently alcohol makes my brain not work that well.
We're both having a hell of a night when it comes to remembering things.
For Declan Lowry, another movie that I'm looking forward to is the new Jack Reacher because, man, Tom Cruise may not have the physical build for Jack Reacher, but he's got the charisma and attitude, and that's so important.
Cool. I'm looking forward to the Magnificent Seven movie. To be very honest, I can't get enough Chris Pratt.
Denzel Washington. I made a joke to my mom. We saw the preview. I'm like, they could say it's a Teletubbies movie starring Denzel Washington. You know what? I'd give it a shot.
I'm in. Yeah. Denzel Washington playing the part in the Magnificent Seven of Yul Brynner, I think is absolutely believable and is going to be amazing. And then playing the part of the guy from Bullet,
Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen. You know what? Fuck this podcast, John. Seriously,
Alcohol. It apparently messes with our brains.
And there's not as much of me as there used to be, and now it hits me harder. And
I didn't
so
have big dinner either. I had just a salad because I had neglected a lot of veggies. So I'm like, let's gorge on veggies.
I used to be able to drink like a fish on this show, and there's no way I can get away with that anymore.
That just means we get to save money because we spend less money on alcohol.
Boom. There you go. It's all about productivity, isn't it?
Yep. But yeah, Magnificent Seven, I have a feeling we'll both be doing a review that first weekend of that movie.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I need to get the boys out to some movies this week, too. So this is, I think, the last week of school. Oh, no, is there one more? They have one full week of summer vacation left, and then they go back to school on September 1st. So we'll hit some movies during the week, I think. Belinda,
hit them some Star Trek Beyond. I think they would enjoy that.
I agree.
It's the right kind of movie.
Belinda's all wrapped up with her school, too. She'd be in on that one as well. So we'll probably make that a priority for this week and some other movies as well. So there you go. John, shit. Let's just, this is kind of effed up, and it's going to take me a month of Sundays to fix.
Hopefully you guys all get this well. I mean, we can't control Twitch, unfortunately. Hopefully it's just they had some super huge event that made their shit go crazy.
Well, and, it was an episode, I think, that had some good content, and we covered some good things before Twitch decided to poop all over itself. And but I hope that people will tune into the podcast over at iTunes, or also available at Patreon if you're a patron. And for sure, try the YouTubes. I'm going to try and stitch together. God willing, the creek don't rise. I stitch it together properly. I've got the right software to do it, so we'll see how it goes.
That's right. We've got the technology. We can make it happen.
And the only reason we have that technology is because of patreon.com/menothjohn, folks. Literally, that is the only reason we can afford to invest in this shit show. So, what?
Apparently, Maryland athletes combined for 18 gold medals during the Rio Olympics.
Stay tuned to you guys from the Be More. There you go.
No doubt.
There you go. All right, folks. Well, this is the Painting with Menoth John show. We're going to put on the music because that's what we do at the end of the show. Because it eases us out, it puts us in the right frame of mind for a Monday. We're leveling out. This is your captain speaking. We've reached 30,000 feet, and we are cruising into the night. This has been your Sunday night extravaganza. Remember to make sure that your tray tops are in their upright and locked position. Your seats are in their fully reclined position for your sleeping duties for the evening. I am Menoth John, and of course, for my co-host, Mr. John Spencer. Have a great night. Good night, everybody.